challenged it. In fact, I challenge our president to tell us, whenever did he challenge and fight the corruption in Chicago or in Washington, D.C.? I challenge him to tell us, what is his track record of ever fighting for that true reform, that positive reform that America deserves? No, he brought that same Chicago pay-to-play practice to the White House. Example, as was part of Jamie's introduction there, we've all heard of Solyndra by now. The $500 million to Obama campaign backers at that solar panel company. And did you know, too, there was an email dump this afternoon. They're kind of getting famous for this at the White House. Friday afternoon, dump all the emails that through FOIAs have been requested and hope that nobody notices what was in there. Well, in that, there's evidence of they were getting ready to give them nearly $500 million more, hundreds of millions of dollars anyway, more, even though they had been warned it was failing. None of the plans were coming to fruition in terms of productivity for the solar company, yet they were ready to give them some more. Solyndra is just the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of a scary thing that's coming, but be prepared for what you're going to find out with people who are working very, very hard to reveal for you, the taxpayers. They're going to reveal for you a lot more example of corruption. Solyndra is just the tip of the iceberg. Just last week, the Obama administration doled out $5 billion more of your dollars in green energy stimulus funds. You'll find more of Obama's major donors among the happy recipients of more of your tax dollars, more of that catnip that he seems to have a boatload of. And now the president is traveling around the country campaigning on taxpayers' dime under the guise of selling his jobs bill. Let's be clear, it isn't a jobs bill. It's Barack Obama's re-election insurance. Is going to get away with underestimating the wisdom of the people. You know, how dumb do they think we are, this jobs bill? He's got another thing coming if he thinks that he's going to get this by the American public. No, it's not a jobs bill. Peel away all the lofty sounding goals and the flowery rhetoric and the blah, blah, blah that comes out of our president's teleprompter. Peel that all away. Look past the illogical economic fantasies that he tries to sell now, and you're going to see that all of his solutions revolve around more of the same, more payoffs for his friends and supporters. His plan is the same as it's always been: grow more government, increase more debt, take and give more of your hard-earned money to special interests. Just look at the friends that the president had during his recent jobs bill speech to the entire Congress and to the entire United States of America, sitting next to the First Lady. It's a special place to get to be on a big speech night like that, to get to sit up in those special seats. One of his friends was General Electric CEO Jeffrey Immelt. GE today has become kind of the poster child, of course, for corporate welfare and crony capitalism. GE pays virtually no federal income taxes despite earning billions in profit. In fact, they claimed a tax benefit of $3.2 billion, meaning they received more of your hard-earned money than they contributed to the pie. It's not because not only do they shelter their money from the taxes that you and I have to pay, but they also get tax credits and they get government grants and they get other benefits that a small business owner could only dream about. They're living off of us, the taxpayers, and all the while, Jeffrey gets to sit up there and sit on the President's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness, and that's just so ridiculous. But GE wasn't the only special guest that night. No, on display at the jobs bill speech, sitting next to the First Lady, too, the big union boss, Richard Trumka. Now, I say this as a former union member and as the daughter, the wife, and the sister of union members. I come from a union family. It's deep in my roots. My grandfather was a union arbitrator, believe it or not, for GE. But that was back in the day when Ronald Reagan was GE spokesperson, so, we could... See, I'm not opposed to an ethical labor movement. I'm certainly a friend to our good union brothers and sisters who are being used by these big union bosses, whom I will call thugs. I am not a friend of the greed of these big union bosses because they're not looking out for the little guy. They're using the little guy for their power. In the same way that Americans are so concerned about irresponsible and greedy corporate big shots who got those cushy bonuses from our taxpayer-funded bailouts, we should also be concerned about the greedy union bosses who are willing to tank our economy just to protect their own power and their titles. Their greed has all but destroyed the labor movement in this country. They've chased away our jobs. They've made outrageous and economically illogical demands that they know will never pass. They don't care, but that doesn't matter to them because they get to hold on to their job title as a big union boss. Now, when big government, big business, and big union bosses collude together, what they get to do to government is have government maximize their own interests against the rest of us. They're working against the middle class. Man, these protesters on Wall Street need to wake up. They need to wake up and understand. Talk about a nebulous, benign, weird protest that's going on right now in Wall Street and these places. These man on the street interviews where they're asking, especially some of the young kids, what are you protesting? They have no idea what they're talking about. It's great late night talk show fodder for those with a great sense of humor, but no, these big union bosses, big government, maximizing their own interests, working against the rest of us. Right now, these forces are maximizing their interests to help their friend Barack Obama get elected so they can keep doing to us what they've been doing. Are you going to make sure that that doesn't happen? Are you going to do all that you can to make sure we have free market principled candidates who can rise to the top and replace Barack Obama? He's got his sights set, though, on $1 billion that he's going to collect for his reelection bid. Now, raising that kind of money, especially in this economy, that can be easy. But if you consider that he gets to hand out other people's money to his friends, maybe then it gets a whole lot easier to consider what that $1 billion will be able to be collected and will be able to be spent upon. Between bailouts for Wall Street cronies and stimulus projects for union bosses' job security and green energy giveaways, Obama's taking care of his friends. Make no mistake about that. And as I say, they are on course to raise that $1 billion for his reelection bid so that they can do it all over again to us. To be fair, though, some GOP candidates, man, they're able to raise a boatload of money, too. And we need to be fair. We need to ask them, too, what, if anything, do their contributors think that they're going to get in return for their campaign donations? We need to know this. We need to know because our country cannot afford any more trillion-dollar thank you notes to campaign contributors. Folks, it's a very important question. It cuts to the heart of our problem, and I do speak from experience. Fighting corruption and that crony capitalism, since I started out in public office, a very local level, 20 years ago, and being outspent in my campaigns 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 and 5-to-1, but the reason for that is simple. Like you, I'm not for sale, but I know what it's like. I've been there. I have the bumps and the bruises to prove what the path is like, what the results are being on that path of fighting that corruption and that cronyism. Now, corporate executives, of course, they should be allowed to exercise First Amendment rights, exercise your right to campaign for and support whomever it is that they want to support. But I also think that we should expect transparency from our candidates. We should know who is donating to whom, and I think that we should demand it of our president, and we should expect it of all candidates. But that transparency alone, it won't help us combat entirely crony capitalism or kickstart our economy. We've got to do more, and we've got to adopt a plan that will do more. Our republic is worth defending, and it is under assault. So how do we defend it? What should the plan be? I say that we return to original principles, especially the principle of self-government. What my plan would be based upon is empowerment of the individual, of our entrepreneurs, of you who absolutely are the ones that grow the jobs, you hardworking individuals, because I have faith, I have trust, I have respect in you, the people of America. My idea is rooted in the free market, and that's why I just detest crony capitalism. Ironically, and unfortunately, the corruption that we see today, it's led many people astray, led many people to conclude that crony capitalism is the only form of capitalism, which of course is not true. We need to reassert our faith in the true free market entrepreneurial spirit and system that made our country great. And one way that we can do this is eliminate the federal corporate income tax, which is the highest in the industrialized world, which scares off jobs. It scares jobs off our shores and puts them in foreign lands. At the same time that we do that, we would eliminate the corporate welfare and the loopholes and all of the bailouts. And this is how we can create an explosion of real job growth. And this is how we break the back of crony capitalism, because it feeds off corporate welfare, which is just socialism for the very rich.